All right, Instagram, here we go. We're about to start off talking about building your tribe. We're pulling up Facebook right now, so that way we got it ready to go. We have to get them like really tight for this thing to be narrow.
Yeah.
It's like we're like squeezing in here. What's up, Sonny? How you doing, buddy? All right, so we are just loading up here on the Facebook time. So when I do Facebook, I like to do the live. I like to put a caption in there, so that way people know what we're talking about. Building your tribe. Boop. And then I'll tag you on it. Keri Anne. I'm feeling energized. I like that one. I do. It's true. I feel pretty excited most times. All right, and then title. Add a title for your live broadcast. Friday Q&A with a.k.a. Let's just do Keri Anne Sherm. Oh,
There you go.
build your tribe. All right, so we're about to go live, and then we'll get started. Oh, hey, how are we not seeing you there?
No.
Okay, there we go.
Here.
Facebook. Woo! Now we're in. Facebook, Instagram. Let's get started. So it is 12:01. All right,
Go
so
time.
let's make it happen. So one of the cool things that we were talking about recently is just having the right network, right? Having the right connections, talking with people. And so, you brought up a really good example just recently, right, with the teacher. Maybe you want to kind of share a little bit of that story with the group, just because I think it's important for people to understand that they can create their own group of supporters if they don't have it out there, right? So if they're finding the right connections, the right friends, unfortunately, even not the right family. We can't choose family. We're just put into one. And so maybe we can talk a little bit about that.
So I was sharing with Sherman that in high school, I had a teacher who was my math teacher at DC Everest, and his name is Mr. Engen, and he's great. He's awesome. This is his last year of teaching. He recently sent me a message by email and just said, hey, I don't know if this is going to get to you, but I just want to say, hey, thanks for your support and for the encouragement, in my years of teaching, when sometimes I was just having a difficult time. And I got that message when I was going through a difficult time, and I was like, wow, this is wild. So I graduated in 2002, and after this many years, like here I am, 34 years old, and I'm being reminded and shown that I'm still cared about from someone who is influential in my life, thanking me for being influential in theirs. It's like, whoa, mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And just, creating that tribe and staying connected, right, all these years has really just offered a sense of comfort in my life, and knowing that someone who has influenced me, I've influenced them, and there's this really solid connection and relationship of support. And I was young. I did not have that, I didn't have the support that I needed, at that time at home. And wow, the influence we can make on others, especially, when we think of children who really need some mentorship.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this starts from at a very young age, and developing these skills and developing these relationships going into your adulthood and continuing that cycle, the more positive cycle, and creating these more meaningful relationships as you're building your tribe from childhood into adulthood.
And so you hit on some really good points there that we talked about. Number one was staying connected with people. So even though you don't have to keep in contact with this person, right? There's no reason to, you left high school, they were a teacher, boom, done, right? The relationship kind of doesn't have to be continued.
No.
And so it's a great way for us to be able to, we're still connected on a lot of these platforms. So we have an opportunity, like let's say if I follow you on Facebook, and I can just easily send you a message. And stay connected that way, and say, hey, I just was thinking about you. Hope you're having a fabulous day. Something that's really short and sweet, but we don't know what the other person is going through, and it might really come at an ideal time for them, and that can be really powerful. And so when we kind of built out the outline, the theme of build your tribe really comes down to the idea that love always wins. And there's a great book out there called Triumphs of Excellence. It was a longitudinal study, which basically is the jargon that they watched people's lives through a long period of time. Mm-hmm. And so there was these Harvard men, 263 of them, back in freshmen in the 1920s, and they wanted to see are there specific qualities that people have in order to be successful in retail management. And so what actually they literally followed them for about 75 years. It's one of the longest longitudinal studies ever done, and they interviewed the freshmen men, they interviewed their parents, and then they also interviewed their children, if they had any children. And so they basically had 3 generations that they can really get a feel of these different kinds of people. So one of the stories in there is that really what it came down to, if you could sum up the entire study, is that love conquers all. Mm-hmm. And they showed that by, all these people had gone to Harvard, so they didn't necessarily come from means, nor did they, because not everybody that got in was uber wealthy, and none of them, but they were intelligent. That's what got them in. But not all of them, there's a big scale between the smartest valedictorian to the person that's barely passing that might almost flunk out. And so it's just really interesting to see the success that these individuals had in life, not necessarily having to do with business. And so they found that love was able to help them overcome all the negative things that occurred in their life previously. So anybody that's on, hey, what's up? Anchor Nation, connecting and engaging is key. Absolutely, KT. Mm-hmm. We got Nathan, that's my mother-in-law, Steve, John, Sienna. How are you all doing? Hope you're all doing well. Yes. So feel free to put any questions that you have down below or in the comment section here on Instagram. So with love kind of being at the backbone of your tribe, let's talk a little bit about first and foremost of why even build a tribe? Like, what's the importance of that, do you think?
To have support, in your life. So one thing that I was thinking about when we're talking about building our tribe, when we're talking about our outline, is who do you allow, in your tribe? Mm-hmm. That you have the choice to allow whoever you want inside. So, we talk about love and we talk about like healthy relationships, and family, and some things that, toxic friends or toxic family. You have the choice to say, I don't want any of that in my life. I don't need it. I don't want it. And you have the choice, and you can make that. It's not always easy, but you can make the choice to live a healthier life, and with a better tribe and better support system with people that love you and that you share love with them. But if someone is, only bringing you stress and negativity in your life, you don't need to entertain that. Mm-hmm. And it's okay, but it's difficult, but it's okay to let them go. Like, you don't need it. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that's easier said than done, but you have to take care of yourself first so that you can take care of everyone else around you, your family, the people that love you, that deserve that love from you, and are really truly a supporter in your tribe. Like, they deserve the best of you, and you deserve the best of them. And so all of that toxic stuff, kick it out, and you don't need it. So, as we're thinking and why we need a tribe, it's support and it's love, and it's all the good stuff that you want around you, all the good people that you want around you. It's so important to live a healthy life, and the healthiest way, best way to do that is to get rid of the toxic stuff. You don't need it.
And so a lot of this clearly comes down to you have to know yourself. So if you aren't comfortable in your own skin, you can't put a lot of those fears on the people in your tribe, because a lot of times you'll run into people and they want a lot of support, but they themselves aren't getting that support to their community. So if you think about your family, friends, acquaintances, those are people in your network, and so you want to maybe almost audit yourself and say, hey, how am I? Who am I? Am I a supporter? Am I giving to my tribe? Because if I want someone there to be there for me when I'm going through the thick of it, when I'm down on my luck, mm-hmm. then what am I doing for other people? And so sometimes it can be almost selfish on our part, where we go, hey, you know what? Sorry, it was a text from my wife. She loved it. Anyway, so that's one of the tough things I think about when we're building out this tribe, is we might look at our family and go and we point at them and go, oh, this is what you're wrong, this is what you're doing wrong, this is what you're doing wrong. We might even verbally even say that to them, which by the way is not a good way to do it, because it's a lot easier just to cut people out just based on time and unfollow them on Facebook or social media, so that way you're not having to constantly see their negativity or the way that they could be bringing you down. And then we want to see, though, what am I doing to give to you, right? Because to a certain extent, there is a little bit of stress that exists in a relationship. Good, it's part of the good things, right? So if I want patience in a relationship, unfortunately, there needs to be ways that we disagree, and that's okay. And that's nothing wrong with disagreeing. But a lot of times we try to convince the other person, you got to see it my way. No, it's okay. You could say that your car is gray, and I'm going to call it silver, and we got to be okay with it. It's really gray, but that's okay, right? Like
it is great.
It's totally okay for there to be that disagreement. And so, if you don't really know yourself, I think that's where the difficulty comes in sometimes. Is if I don't really feel comfortable being me, then I have a tendency to push all that that fear, that insecurity on the other people around me. So I might judge people that are wealthy as like show-offs and showboats, and it's just because I'm not comfortable with money. So it has nothing to do with them as much as it has to do with me. So let's read a couple of the comments here on Anchor, on Instagram. We have, with Anchor Nation says, disagreement is good for relationship, relieves the tension. And then Mel Marley says, best to come together on the commonalities and focus on that. Absolutely, right? So instead of always saying like, oh, your political views are different from mine, or your stance on that is different from mine. No, it's just, what do we both agree on?
So too, I think that within the relationships and some differences, like we are afraid of sometimes being judged for the decisions that we make, or worried about if we don't want someone in particular in our life because we feel that they're toxic to us, a sense of guilt or worry in discontinuing that relationship, or not knowing how to best discontinue that relationship, which can also cause some anxiety. But just being afraid of the unknown of letting go, of letting go, that can be intense and a little frightening. And
I think, so a lot of times we talk about, this is a personal conversation, but this totally works in business. And I don't know how many employees I've talked to over the years that they've stayed at a very toxic place. Their boss was, harassing them verbally, or was just, their management style was so abrasive, it was crass, it was rude, it was putting people down, and they stayed there way too long. And that, from a build your tribe, it works personally and professionally. And I think for a lot of people, if you dread going to work because the people that are surrounding you are not healthy, they're Debbie Downers, they're rude Randys, you just need to get away from them, because they're going to eventually, that's going to trickle onto you, and that's going to affect the way that you end up viewing yourself when you look in the mirror, or how you associate with other people. And so, and I know, of course, we got to pay the bills. So I understand that you can't leave, and I believe in the Tarzan method, right? You got one job in one hand, and you don't let go until you got another job in the other hand. But do it as quickly as possible, right? This weekend, if I work at a place that sucks, then I would immediately go to LinkedIn. I would immediately talk to my closest confidants and say, hey, look, I'm looking for something because Jane down the road, down the hallway, she's just beating the crap out of me. Treat me like garbage, and I just can't stand to be here anymore. So that's important, that you want to be able to get yourself out of those kind of situations. David Griesmeyer, I agree, Sherm. That is essential. David Griesmeyer, by the way, I'm going to pin his comment. This dude creates, he is like an artist. He creates artistry from welding.
Cool.
It's a beautiful skill. David's cool, one of the most
Dave.
unique people I've met in the artistry. Like he made a ballerina. It was like gorgeous. I
Neat.
just totally spit on you. I'm spitting on Keri Anne because I'm getting so excited about David Griesmeyer. He's down there in Florida. So check him out, everybody.
Gross.
If you're on Facebook, whenever you're watching this. It's okay.
But we go back to the power of choice.
Yes.
So, if Jane down the hall is really busting your hide and, just you feel like you're just drowning in your own environment, like, think about what's best for you. Like, make a solid choice and do something about it. Sometimes we're afraid to act, but if you don't no one's going to do it for you, and you have to make the decision to make change in your life.
Yep.
To want something that's better, and then take action, make it happen.
And that's really where being assertive. I was talking that recently to a local organization, is the Hmong Chamber, this last Wednesday. And Hmong, Hmong, for those of you that are unfamiliar with them, they're a Southeast Asian, basically really tribe that overall are pretty soft-spoken individuals in America. And so they need to be able to allow their voice to be heard. They need to speak up on their opinions and what they want, because when you don't let people know what you want, they don't know what you want, because they can't read your mind. And then based on your actions, that may not necessarily tell them what you want in the future. So even though you work really hard, they might not know that you want leadership opportunities. I remember I was talking to my father maybe it was like several months ago now, and it was like a year ago, and he was telling me that he was telling his bosses that he's open to international opportunities. So if there's opportunities to go to Japan or to go to England, where he's been stationed before, and they had no idea that he was open to that. Even though for him, he's like, but you guys knew that I worked in England for 3 years and ran the team there in Europe. But again, in the day-to-day, people don't remember your resume like you do. And so you need to remind people what you want from a career perspective, that you might want those leadership opportunities. So that way, when there's opportunity to get the responsibility, they give it to you. And one thing that I would say on that is, don't assume that they're going to pay you a manager's salary without you showing that you can do a manager's job. So that's the other thing. Yeah.
I was just going to say, so you mentioned the Hmong Chamber, and speaking at the Hmong Chamber, well, this week, while you were at the Hmong Chamber, I went to this event in Wausau at the Grand Theater. It was
Pam Jackson.
Hey, Pam. Is she on? Hey,
she will be on later.
Oh, her.
I'm using the lip stuff.
So while you were at the Hmong Chamber, I went to this event called Dude Be Nice, and it's a brand. It's like a way of living. It's it's more than just the clothing line, but it's these students, game-changing individuals. These young students, like, just making moves in their environment and creating, cultivating this positive, giving, grateful atmosphere in their environment. Just doing good things for the community and for their peers. But I think of the Dude Be Nice and what their goals and initiatives are, and I think of the Be Amazing group that we met with from Wausau. They're building quite the tribe. I mean, they are doing good things for the community. They're supporting each other. They are just cultivating this feel good sense of being and around each other as well. It's pretty cool. They're doing a great job in selecting what they want to support, who they want their support from, how they can support each other, and that's all about. It's so important as we are building our tribe, like selecting who it is we want to surround ourselves with, and how do we get to be, to the. What are our personal goals and how do we want to live our lives, and finding like-minded individuals who will too support you in doing that.
And so what that brings up to me is just yesterday I had the opportunity to listen to Dan and Kim. They're a husband and wife that are opening up a distillery here in Wausau. Now, I'm not an alcohol drinker, but it's cool for some other people. They might like it. But one of the things that they said as they're building out like their board of directors as they launch their business was they found people that had specific skills. And so they found an accountant and an attorney and someone that was into marketing. And because they themselves, one came from Great Dane, it's a local pub and kind of bar, and they do their craft beers there. And then the other one, she came from, she's a manager at Target, so she's more leadership, people driven. And so the two of them, as they come together, they know that they have gaps in their skills. And so that's where it comes back. As you build out your tribe professionally, you want to look at what do I need in order for me to develop. And so it might be that you might be technically a very good accountant, but what you might lack in is the ability to network. And so you need a people person in your tribe. You might find, okay, I'm a really good technician. Again, the accountant, but I need someone that understands the law, so I need an attorney in there. Or I'm dealing with a lot of people that run, different businesses like real estate, so I need to know construction, or I need to know these different professionals in order to get myself more rounded out as a connector.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely.
And so as we shift, then you have to know like your own strengths and weaknesses when it comes to building out that tribe. And that's where, again, if you go back to, like, in a sense, auditing your own qualities, characteristics, and everybody has weaknesses, and you want to be able to make sure that those people that you bring into your network are strong. So one of the things I know that I'm horrible at is small details, the administrative stuff. And so whenever I have hired staff, I make sure that they are detail oriented, because if they're not, then we both aren't. That's not good, because then we're synergy in a negative way. Now we're both totally disorganized and nothing is staying on top of itself. If you look at some of your biggest supporters, I find there's a common phrase out there, right? That you're the summation, or your future will be the summation of your 5 closest relationships. Mm-hmm. So if you're like, okay,
have you guys heard that?
Yeah,
I think
it's a pretty common thing, right?
Yeah.
And so I'd say that number one is I look more at the quality of their character than their depth of their checkbook or their savings account. Because I find people that are like, oh yeah, my closest friends, one's a millionaire, one, sold his business at 35 and he's like super successful. And I'm like, no, like, what are they like as a human being? Because if they're total like jerks and they're treating people like garbage, I don't care how much money they got, they're not going to be in my tribe.
Right. And you're not defined by who you're surrounded by.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And nor should you allow yourself to be enamored. It's nice to admire people that do well in various areas, but if you're going to have people be an influence on you, make sure that they have something beyond a fat checkbook or a big wallet or nice clothes.
Right.
And so again, look at your 5, like, and again, for some people it's just you have to look at your, like, where are you spending your time? Mm-hmm. Who are your friends on the weekends? What do who's in your group of text messages? And so for a lot of people, I will say, those of you that shouldn't go to college, if your tribe sucks, college might be a great way for you to network out of your current network. The other one that I would say is look at online as well. I think there's a great way to be able to professionally get connected with people online and also face-to-face. I think you can leverage both. I connect with a lot of people, and you do too, right? When we go to different events face-to-face, and then I'll follow up then with an online connection, and that way we're staying better connected that way. Mm-hmm. It's powerful. It creates that commonality. The more that they see you, the more that they feel comfortable. I have a lot of people now coming up and calling me the crazy Asian, and we're not like super close, but they have no problems calling me the crazy Asian because there's this comfortability when it comes to just constantly connecting with people. So as you have connections face to face, leverage the online space, leverage Facebook, leverage LinkedIn, leverage Instagram to connect to people and get to know them. A lot of times you can connect with people and know about their personal life. So if I'm gonna, sit down with you, I might go and look at your feed and go, oh, hey, happy birthday to your son. I saw that he had his birthday last week, right? And that's just, again, it's just another way to establish that connection.
Yeah, and you're also, it's building trust with people. So we have a comment, trust. It's totally right on. We have to build that. Relationship is one of the foundations of a relationship is having trust with the other individual. So, that's absolutely key. But, taking a true, interest in people, not just for, face value, but just, deeper than that, a true vested interest in humanity.
Mm-hmm. And so, as you guys go about building your tribe and thinking about the people that are going to be in it, you shouldn't feel bad to have to disconnect people. You shouldn't feel like that's a negative. Now, you don't have to go to somebody and go, hey, Keri Anne, I'm disconnecting you out of my tribe because, you were a snot face last week. I don't think that's helpful. I don't think that, it just makes you feel good for your ego. So I would honestly, don't burn any bridges. Yeah. Especially in our community, man. It's tiny. Yeah. At the same time, you want to be able to make sure that you give people time that are adding value to your life.
Exactly.
And make sure the people that you give your time to, make sure that you're adding value too. It's not a one-way road. Let's see what Sienna says. What is the difference between, I'll let you answer this. What's the difference between being nice to people and being a pushover? I want you to answer that one first and we'll go to our next question.
I think if you are, the difference between being nice, I don't know, I feel like this is so inherent to me, but
yep.
I just feel like when I am being nice to someone, I just feel like it's part of my nature, but I just genuinely care. You have to respect your time and your space and yourself when you're creating relationships with people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think what I'm going to say. But, I don't know, I just feel like when I'm being nice, that's just like how I act. I just live my life that way. I share my kindness with other people and I expect that to be reciprocated to me. Sometimes that's not always the case. You don't always get that type of relationship, but you can be consistent with who you are and how you want to be and how you want to act and how you want to be treated. And just really, display that and expect that in return.
I think sometimes the problem is that if you're being nice with an expectation of something in return, then you're going to be let down. Because if let's say I'm sending you a thank you note and I expect you to do something because of that, or let me just give you an example. Somebody yesterday called me. I worked with him in the past, and he's like, hey, I'm looking to do this certain thing. Would you mind writing a reference letter? And I said, sure, I don't mind being able to do that. And he's like, I've already kind of given you a template. I was like, perfect, because I don't want to write it from scratch. So that totally helps. And then I'll just make it my own. And so if, let's say, I do that to him and I send him this, and I expect him to do something back in return, then I'm not really being nice. Because I want a quid pro quo. I want somebody, because I'm patting you on the back, I want something in return. That's not being nice. That's being negotiating. That's wanting something. It's a force of expectation. You want to read the other question?
So Sienna also asks, have you had any experiences in your personal life where you realized that you needed to step back and restart yourself because you were being too nice?
Yeah, I can think of. Gosh, the first one that comes to mind is getting divorced, but that's like a role. There's always two sides of the story on that one, so I don't want to go down that road just because if she watches this video, she can definitely give the real opinion of what happened. So
everybody has their side.
Yeah, everyone's flawed, right? So let's be honest about that one. So you realize you needed to reassert yourself. So let's just think about a business context. If your performance review, this kind of comes to mind, where they say, like, I wish you had done these different things differently, then I would say, you know what, based on your assessment, this is where I think I delivered on exactly the exact opposite. So you said that I wasn't responding in emails in a prompt fashion. If we look at the 2,000 emails that I sent, this might take work, by the way, 1,900 of them I responded within 24 hours. So I don't know if and the other 100 were responded within 48. So I don't know why I can't get a 10 out of 10 on that performance review that I responded promptly. That I hate performance reviews for that reason, by the way, that you can't get a 10 out of 10 on some things. That's some managers' attitudes is that you can never be perfect on anything. That's just stupid. I can get 100% on a spelling test in college. If you're going to have the same kind of attitude. Or not college. What college did I go to if I could spell the spelling test? In elementary school. So, let's see. What does Meg Schultz say? Thoughts on an introvert tribe building. Ooh, that's a good one. Sometimes it's hard to know and how to start looking for like-minded individuals. Yeah. Do you want to take a stab at that one? I'm going to pin it.
Yeah, pin that. That's good. Megan, I will say, to you specifically, I really like I like all your stuff. You got some good stuff. But you're maybe not as outgoing, or you may consider yourself an introvert. I do not. I'm more of an extrovert, but what you the way you connect with people is really is true to you. And I think the way you act, the way you communicate, the way you talk about your business, and you talk about your yoga and what your intent is, and just this peaceful vibe that you give out, people connect with you, and you put out positivity and you get positivity back. I mean, you have like this great support system. You do have this great tribe in our community that as you started Blue Infinity Yoga, you just had like this great support. And that's because you're a great person. You are kind to people. You want what's good for people. You're genuine, and your intention is just good-natured and good-willed. So I think that's what you get back in return. I think that you've done a fabulous job in creating your tribe in our community. I am inspired by what you put out there. So, I can tell you that just, as far as me personally, like, I see your stuff, like, you got me. I like it. I can relate. And, I think you've done an excellent job in building your tribe as more of an introverted person. Like, I would never think of you as being, an introvert, because I think you still put out very confidently good nature.
And so to that is because you're leveraging social media, right? So if you're an introvert, social media is your game changer. It is the greatest tool ever given to you. It is the Swiss Army knife of being able to connect with individuals. So number one thing that I would say is, I think sometimes people get caught up on tribe as needing quantity. It's a quality relationship. It's a quality tribe versus quantity. Somebody that's got 1 million people that only has like 5 people commenting, no value there, right? So on Instagram or on Facebook or LinkedIn, whatever medium that you have, it's not about the quantity. Yeah. Get rid of people that, like on LinkedIn. About a year ago, I said that I'm going through and I'm deleting people. Like I'm unconnecting with you. Number one, it doesn't send them a message. It's just that if I reach out to you and say, hey, let's connect, let's have a good time together, and then they don't want to connect with me, then what's the point of us being connected on LinkedIn, right? If you're not a part of my group, my tribe, then either meet with me to continue to keep the relationship strong, or what's the point of being connected? No thanks. And so that's where I'd say that's the one thing to focus on, is the quality of relationships. And the other one is to leverage these tools by being able to DM people, be able to send people messages. Like on LinkedIn, typically in the morning when I first get into the office, I'll see who's celebrating anniversaries, who's having birthdays, and I'll quickly send them a message. Hey, Keri Anne, happy birthday. Hey, Keri Anne, congratulations on 5 years over at Shank, right? And so I will personalize the automated notification that comes over. So that way it's really coming from me. And that can be extremely powerful because even though I'm an introvert, I'm doing that just because I can type, I can swipe, I can tip tap. What is it? Thumb it away? Texting it. You can connect with people in a way that's really meaningful that way. Chris, you're welcome. KT Incarnation says, do things with no experience, do it expectation. Yeah, do things with no expectations. Do it expecting the results you put out 100%. Yeah, asking for things in return is a tacky, sadly. No, it's a tactic, sadly. I think I'm trying to read it correctly, but we know what he's saying. We get it. So great question, Megan. Thank you for that. So as we shift the conversation then from kind of bouncing back and forth between professional and personal, as I think about my tribe personally, right? So if I think about kind of networking, because that has I think for some people it's a negative word. Like they're like, I don't like that word, networking and getting out and schmoozing people. I'm not a schmoozer, Sherm, like you. And so whenever I hear that, I always think to myself, like, what are you talking about? Like, what am I schmoozing over here?
Don't know.
I'm going to a network, I'm shaking hands. I'm kissing babies, but no babies are there. I'm not a politician. And I'm not asking for money, right? I'm just going in there and I'm talking to other people. You tell me about your story. Let's get to know you.
You just like people. You genuinely like people.
Yeah. I honestly just love people. Some people just love reading books. I love talking to people and knowing their story. What's you about? What are you doing? And ultimately, I want to know if I can help you win in life, whatever that might be. With my cockeyed optimism, I feel like I can like rub off in a good way on people and just be like, hey, have some Sherm goodness, have some happiness in your life. It's just the way that I'm wired.
I wish, but you think about who you run into in your, throughout your day, and it sure would be a lot more refreshing. I mean, life itself, if there were more people that, shared their optimism, shared their positivity for life, because it's a rough world out there, y'all. It's crazy. Like, we need more of the good stuff.
Yeah. And so there is this phrase, I think it actually comes from 7 Habits of How to 50 People, that it's, okay, so you and I both have, in life, we both have mugs, okay? You have a mug, I have a mug. And in our interactions, we both have a ladle. And so if I'm rude to you, I take water out of your mug and I throw it on the ground, right? At the same time, I can be nice and I can be kind to you and I can add water to your bucket, if you will. And so in our engagements, we're either, that was the metaphor he uses in 7 Habits is bank accounts, or relationships are bank accounts. I can either make deposits or I can make withdrawals.
Yeah.
And if I keep making withdrawals over and over, guess what happens? Boom, withdrawn, and I'm in trouble. Right. So that's kind of where it works, I think, a lot of times in relationships, is that if we're not thinking about how I can add to your bucket, I'm only taking that. And
it takes a lot of effort to be mean to people, or to, be sassy or rude, or...
And I think it's the same amount of work to go in the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Right? To be able to, you see someone, here, and perfect example, I'm at Walmart, I'm checking out, the lady's a little bit slow. I can stand there and go, man, this line is super slow. So that way she can hear, it's kind of this passive aggressive comment, really. And I make this person who's getting paid, $10, $11 an hour feel like garbage for not going to my liking of fast enough. If I wanted it fast enough, then I should go to the self-checkout line, which I do, by the way. I think I'm faster than most people that are checking out. And so
you make that choice to make a change.
Yeah, instead of insulting someone. There's no value there. No. It makes me feel good because I'm going to insult someone for their bad work, or they're not working to my liking. It's just ridiculous. And so at the same time, we can have the choice of saying, hey, you know what? I want to be able to be positive. And I'm going to say hi to this cashier, Susan. Say, hey, Susan, how's your day going? Are you having a nice time here at Walmart? Maybe I make a joke about what I'm getting. Oh, I'm getting a lot of this junk food. I got Twinkies today. Oh, but I'm going to balance it out with some lettuce. Susan, is that a good choice? Right? Beets and lettuce, does that counteract one or two Twinkies, and then that's a funny joke. Medilink, what does he say? There is also how we choose to perceive certain actions. Mm-hmm. Just read an interesting line by Ryan Holiday. Live every day as if you died and came back, and all of this is extra. Like that. A man says, good decision, gotta run, great day. And I follow my man right there because he puts up like daily scriptures. I like that. It's just really cool.
Yeah,
it's
that's
really
cool.
Just positivity. So, follow people on your feed that bring happiness, right? If you don't like someone in your feed, greatest tool on Facebook is mute. So I'm still connected with you. You can also unfollow, but we're friends, right? And I don't unfriend with you. So I will just mute you. So I don't have to hear you. It's perfect. We're still connected, but I don't have to hear your rantings about, some politician or some like. It's always like gun control up here, right? So it's you're either totally for it or you're totally against it, and I'm just like, whoa, just calm down, calm down. So understand that same thing on these other social media sites. Unfollow, block, delete. It's just healthy. So that way, seriously, I go on my feed. It's happy goodness, right? I see what my sister-in-law is going to go and do an Ironman today. I can read about, my nieces and nephews doing some awesome stuff. I can see what you're doing.
You can look out for Tony Little's posts, which are hilarious.
Yes, which I want him to put it into a book. I keep telling him, put those in a book, man. I will buy that book.
I would too.
I want Tony Little every day, 365, boom, 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 right?
Me too.
And I as well though, I need Allison's like repartee, like smacking him back. Yeah. Yes, like that's because you should know where that is, right? You're looking for your own car keys. It's hysterical. It's the funniest. It's like the funniest bantering back and forth.
But you can choose. It's like you just got to make the choice, and waking up every day and deciding, who are you. Who are your biggest supporters? Like, how can you support other people too?
Yeah, and so that's really our choice, right? So if we kind of jump back into leveraging this tribe, because you should. When it comes to relationships, it doesn't have to be give and take, but it works out that way. And so, how can I give of myself in a way that's meaningful to me and meaningful to the people around me? And so that's kind of why we decided to do this Friday Q&A, right? We wanted to be able to show people how to have some different strategies, some different tactics. A lot of it kind of stems from social media and leveraging it as a tool, because all it is just a way to communicate. Just like 50 years ago, the advent of the phone in like everyday houses, all of a sudden, people are like, I don't know why you're on that phone all day. Well, because I like talking to my friends, right? Parents didn't understand it. You have this 50-foot extension cord going all the way to the daughter's, halfway down the hallway into her room. And then prior to that, though, there was the TV, and that thing's going to rot your brain. But guess what? It didn't rot anybody's brain, because my parents are products of the black and white TV that said it came out, and guess what? It did pretty good. And so we have all these different ways of communication, and it still comes down to, are we building good relationships? It's tribal. That's why it's kind of cool. You get away from it really in the United States because we are somewhat of a melting pot, more like a tossed salad, right? Because people kind of stay in their groups. But you see this still very heavily in the Hmong community. So those of you that know Hmongs who came over as refugees, they fought with us in Vietnam War, and they have 18 tribes based on their surnames. And so they still support each other as a community. If they need to let something known, they tell each other almost like a phone tree, and they let everybody know. Obviously they use different technology now than they did over in Cambodia and Laos. And so it can be, as you think about that, I'm lucky. You met my folks. I have awesome parents. My mom and dad are just amazing human beings. If you meet my parents, you'd be like, yeah, Pam and Phil, they're the greatest people. They are. They're just super sweet, super nice. Yeah. And they wanted to teach us some crazy stuff. So I got taught some highly effective people. My dad went on Boy Scout trips with me, even though he wasn't into scouting, but he was for me because he loves his kids. And so I was lucky. I have 2 older siblings, I have a younger sister, and they are just awesome people. I love them. when they win, I get super excited for them. If they need help, I'll be there in a heartbeat, right? My dad was flying in to Wausau, snowstorm, stuck in Chicago. Get in the car, drive down, pick him up, drive back. That was I think about 11 hours in the middle of a snowstorm. We almost got stuck in a parking lot. Mom had to jump into the front seat. My dad and I were pushing this car out of the gas station. So I will say, from a familial perspective, I lucked out. Like I won big. I got awesome parents, got awesome siblings, and not all of you have that. And so that's why I think for a lot of people, if you don't have that, you gotta build it. No one's gonna do it themselves. You cannot build a business, you cannot build a career, you cannot build a life being a hermit. It's just not gonna happen.
It takes action. Yeah. It takes action, it takes choice. And you have the power to do that.
So how did you do it? You built your own tribe.
I did. I looked around, and learned a lot from my friends around me, and I learned about like what I wanted in my life and how a support system can impact, the way you develop from a child to in your adulthood. And I just made a choice. I knew that I wanted to be. I knew that I wanted to give back to my community. I knew that I wanted to be successful. Did I know what type of success that, what that looked like to me? No. I grew into that. I studied a lot. I studied human behavior, and just learned a lot about relationships and what was good for me and what I wanted to have in my life. And the people that didn't fit my criteria, I let go. And it wasn't easy to do, but it was the healthiest thing for me to be able to get to where I wanted to be in my life and get to be, have a healthier environment for me and my family. So, there were times too, like you mentioned before, personally and professionally, you just have to make that choice. Like, where can you be the best you? And audit that and figure out, who it is that adds value to your life. How can you add value to others' lives? And make change happen to, accommodate all of the things that you want for yourself and the people that you love and love you.
And I love that you brought that in, that you professionally and personally can be assertive and say, these are the people that I want in my life, personally and professionally. And these are the different, I think professionally, we kind of look at people that have maybe been doing it for 20 years, but, because heck, I've been working since, I think 23 out of college. So that, we're 15, 16 years into it now. And so the reality is that you've never had to build a network before. Like in school, you're kind of thrown into the mix of people and you kind of build your own group, right? You may join different groups like your cheerleader or your sports or you're into the debate team. And then what happens though is you leave high school and you leave college and you start working. And you might be in a division, but what you don't realize is that you need to build that deliberately. So if you want to, let's say, right now you're in HR and you want to get stronger at your leadership skills, you need to either join an organization that's going to teach you that, you need to go do some extra learning, or you need to change companies. And so in order for you to get what you need, develop, character-wise for your career, you might need to make a change and be proactive and assertive about going after what you want. And so by being able to build the right tribe, you'll be able to then reach out to the right people. I think sometimes people, they just think it's going to happen by default. If I work really hard, then it's all going to come. It's like going to school and being like, I'm here at school, I should get really smart.
Well, you have to put in the effort, you have to practice. So if you're someone that doesn't like to do public speaking, or if you're uncomfortable on video, it takes practice to become familiar. Maybe it's like a gradual exposure type of thing to where you become more familiar with doing these types of things, and you just naturally, you get less nervous, you get better in your speaking, and there's a process to things, but that's okay. Things, that development doesn't have to happen overnight. You don't need to develop your tribe overnight. You know, all of these things, you know, take time, and there is, you know, a level of patience involved.
And so it's just got to be deliberate, guys. I can't emphasize that more. I don't know how many people, they'll go to work and they'll bust their hump, and they don't actually take a step back, like a literal, like Friday afternoon, 4 o'clock, before you go home, take 30 minutes and go, what did I learn this week? Like, what was the process at which I decided to market this week? What was the way that my manager treated me? Was that good leadership? But we think that just by osmosis, just like going in and it's occurring, that we're going to get smarter, we're going to get better at business just because I busted my hump, you know, for 25 years. No, you don't. Unless you actually take a step back and say, this is what I actually learned. And so it's important to be able to do that. So appreciate anybody that watches this stuff, because we're giving it to you as we kind of learn it as well. We're not perfect at it. We go to networking events, and sometimes I totally work the room. Sometimes I just talk to people that I already know. It's kind of when you get along well, it's kind of a downside, right?
Yeah.
Talk to Keri Anne for 5 hours. Should have networked instead. No, we haven't done that. Just to make it clear, I've not done that. I am busted. So then, let's see. What did somebody say? Oh, Michael Grant's in the house. Michael Grant, unique elevator engineer.
Cool.
That is a fantastic career. That to me is like mind blowing. You know, like it's like.
I appreciate your job. I never want to be stuck in an elevator.
It's just I want them faster. Like that's all I want. Whenever I get an elevator, there's not an elevator that I've been on.
You need a rocket.
It's not quick enough. Boom, done. I want it. I want to be on the 45th floor now. I guess no. I take it back. USB Tower, downtown Chicago. You have like the express elevators, right? Because it's like 45th to the 72nd, right? So like it zooms, and then you're like, 42nd. Right. Anyway.
Ain't no time to wait.
Side note to Michael Grant. So yeah, this was a lot of fun. I think we're going to do a little bit more of these. I think we want to bring a little bit more of not just business context into these, because I think there's a lot of people that they struggle. And unfortunately in our careers, if our personal life sucks, there's something crappy going on, then it trickles into work. And so we want to address that a little bit. I'm actually going to be doing a post later on today about mental health. Yeah. Because some of you don't know, I suffer from, not suffer from, I have ADHD. So I'm all over the place. Some of you look at that and you're like, that makes a lot of sense. I think that's all over the place. But what's funny is I didn't notice this until I'm taking exams as a 30-year-old and I'm falling asleep. I got a good night's rest, totally ready to take this exam, and I'm passing out. Like I'm like, what? And it's a timed test. If you can't get through the test, those are all zeros. You're just not gonna, you're gonna fail. It's like a guarantee. Anyway, so figure that out. But where I really want to go with this is I know a lot of people, they suffer from depression and anxiety, and I really want to go there for people, because I think sometimes we find ourselves in like anxious moments, a lot of stress is upon us, and it's okay to see a therapist. It's okay to even take medication. Don't self-medicate, please. Don't be doing it yourself. Talk to a professional. I think it's okay to talk to friends that are okay with that. Like you need a real listener. Just say, hey, I'm struggling with something. Yeah. And another one is just you need to find a healthy outlet. I find that so many like people like they do destructive things, right? So you and I run into it, right? Especially in our community. I've had a hell of a week. I'm going to go to the bar and go get hammered. That's not healthy. That kind of conditioning is so destructive. Or I've had a hell of a week and I'm going to just
go for a run. Yeah,
that's healthy. I'm going to go do some yoga. Go do some meditation with Megan Schultz, right? Like, is that how I spell it? Yeah, Schultz. I spelled it right. Good for me. I'm going to go volunteer my time at Big Brothers Big Sisters with Jerry, right? Is Jerry the new ambassador dude? Yeah. So that's healthy, right?
He's,
So I think by being able to, that's what I'm going to talk about in one of my videos here after you leave. Okay. Because you got to go do your thing. So if there's anything, guys, that we could, topic-wise, that you want to let us know that we could talk about, next week is May 4th, if you can imagine that. And we're going to be over at Marathon Endurance, really talking about retail health, more specifically about some of the cool content. I'm super excited about that, working with Marathon Endurance, talking about run, because it's not about the shoes, although they sell shoes and they sell equipment. It's not what it does. And so I'm excited to talk a little bit more about storytelling.
Yeah, and what's cool, they give an experience there. It's more than just buying a shoe.
Yeah, so they record your running, and so I want to be able to just show them how they can create a quick video, maybe some tutorials, right? Because running in art, right? It's raining right now, but we get some snow and so we get some ice, and people still want to run, and so what's some safe ways to do it, and so it'll be cool.
Just really dynamic.
All right, but if they
sometimes we bring in, when we do these, we bring in specialists. So if we're talking about dealing with stress or anxiety in healthy ways, if there's anyone where you want to see a special guest, we will listen.
Yes, we should actually have a topic on that one. I love it. I love showing this live, by the way. That's the band before.
Yeah.
We should talk to a specialist about having an episode, a Friday session on leveraging social media for anxiety, depression. I think that'd be powerful. And getting some
and there's so many different support groups and stuff. I follow.
Yeah, support groups is good.
Some domestic violence, family survivors.
Yeah.
People that have lost another family member to domestic violence.
Yeah.
I follow a group on that, and it's
powerful.
Yeah, because I can't relate to other people locally. I can't have that kind of conversation with someone that. But I can with them because they get me.
Yeah.
And so it's really special. Yeah. So you can use these tools to help you with those things. So we should definitely look into that.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Jenna Lynn, somebody tagged her on that one. Okay. Well, again, everybody, where we're at. See you next Friday. Keri Anne Sherm.
Thank you.
We're out. And boom.